All right, are we ready to dive in
Yeah.
for our congregational meeting? Actually, it's really important to note, this is not a congregational meeting. This is a congregational conversation, kind of a state of the union. A congregational meeting is when we vote on things. There's been a 2-week notice, there's an agenda, all that kind of stuff. This is not that. We are not going to be voting on anything. This is just a way to kind of share some of the things that are going on in the life of the church. So I want to begin by talking about some of the things that are really going well in the church, right in the church, kind of set the tone. And, you know, for me, one of the things that's going right in the church is the leadership. In a time of a pandemic, when everything is kind of up in the air and things are kind of crazy, what we need really strong leadership to bring us forward. And the great thing about Columbine is that we have a strong church council led by Amy Crispin, the council president. Our council has done an amazing job helping us navigate through these pandemic waters. They have made everything from building decisions, really complicated building decisions. They have made decisions about staff and personnel issues. They have made decisions about budgets and programming. They have just done a marvelous job. Amy has done a great job leading the council. We have a great leadership. We have amazing leadership on the church staff. My colleague and friend in all things Columbine and all things fun, Jill Vanderwall, has done an amazing job leading the congregation in so many different ways. I thoroughly enjoy working with Jill, and together I think we make a really good team in leading the congregation. So I'm very grateful for her leadership. I'm very grateful for the leadership of the staff. You know, our staff I have asked each of them to step up in really creative ways to lead the congregation. And it hasn't been an easy thing at all to try to figure out how to lead the congregation in this Zoom format, if you will. Trying to get to know one another. We only meet during Zoom as a staff, and then we kind of go our separate ways, and we check in with one another throughout the week on via email and text and phone calls to try to get together to continue the life of the ministry. It's been a challenge, but I really believe that they've done an amazing job. You know, starting their job in the middle of Zoom has been a great challenge. You know, think about it. Joe was with us for 6 weeks. He barely got a chance to know us before we went to Zoom. Samantha, you'll hear from Samantha in just a few moments. Samantha started her job in the middle of Zoom, and she's learned how to do children and youth ministry by Zoom. So that's been an amazing. We have a brand new addition to the staff, and that's Natalie. Natalie is in charge of the communication, administration, and support staff, doing all the support work. I think Natalie is with us. Natalie, if you are here, why don't you, we're going to shift the screen to you. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody? Tell us a little bit about who you are and your excitement about the job. So Natalie, take it away.
Hello. Yep, I'm Natalie. This is Tyler. We live in Denver, just like you guys, and we've lived here for 2.5 years. We have 2 roommates and 4 cats, and we have a nice little pod going on for the coronavirus. And we've been tuning into your services for probably the past 4 weeks, and I just really like you guys. And I've gotten to meet probably 15 or 20 people so far, and you're all just really sweet, and I can't wait to get to meet all of you in person and more of you on Zoom. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Natalie just started this past Monday, so she's done 1 full week for us. So that's pretty cool. We're excited about Natalie, you'll be introduced to Natalie in the coming weeks and months, as Natalie will be doing all the communications on the church for the church staff, all the social media. She'll be managing our church's website. She'll be doing all communications, all administration, working with both Jill and myself, working with Dwight on some of the finances and Linda on some of the finances. So her job will be expanding and growing throughout the months and weeks and months ahead. So Natalie, it's great to have you here. You're part of the good news that's happening at Columbine United Church. Thank you. You know, the other cool thing that's going on is our committee work. Our committees have done an amazing job keeping Columbine going. We have had really strong adult education led by Susan Leach. They've done an amazing job providing really great educational opportunities. We have had everything from the M&M with Betsy Railing, the Mission Committee, Next Gen Care and Nurture, and I'm going to have Greg Schieffer from the Mission Committee. Greg, why don't you share a little bit about what's been going on the Mission Committee with everybody, helping folks know about the good news with the Mission Committee. Greg?
Hey, you know what? It's me. You get me.
What?
You get me instead for missions.
Okay, go.
So I am going to just share with you a slide. So here's today's conversation. You know, we've been talking about this image of we walk the path all year. Today we're walking a snowy path, but we really aren't, are we? Gosh, we do not have enough snow. So missions, I want to highlight, Steve and I both work with the mission committee. And in this season, I really want to highlight how much we have been not only giving, but also partnering with global and local mission partners. And so, as you may know, we budget, you know, we're 3 quarters of the way through our what we call our fiscal year. And so this is 3/4 of what we will give, you know, by the end of the year and the end of April. But global, thus far, we have given about $10,000, and about 60% of that is to El Porvenir in Nicaragua, which goes to sustaining healthy water infrastructure in communities. Some of them who are walking miles and miles for water each day, and Common Hope, our partner in Guatemala. We've also made several gifts out of the international and global to hurricane relief in Central America following those disasters. And so we like to partner with the Presbyterian Disaster Assistance and the aid group through the UCC Church as well. And then locally, you know, Mission Committee is probably one of our best staffed committee teams. There is 10 of them, 12 of them that all relate to these different partner organizations. They serve on their boards, they know their staff, they serve and volunteer in a weekly and monthly basis. But just some of the ones are Action Center, Love Inc., Bessie's Hope, Second Wind Fund, HAT, which is housing, Integrated Family Community Services, Habitat, Meals on Wheels, Network Coffee House, Jeffco Serve Kids, Inner City Parish. To date, we've given about $33,000 to those organizations that we support, plus special gifts that we make. And the average gift to those is between $1,000 and $3,000 thus far for the year. So I just want to continue to highlight that, as you can see, these organizations, we get to partner with people and to continue to fund amazing organizations who are really, especially in this time of the pandemic, serving those in need in our communities and walking with them. And so really continue to keep these partners in our prayers. And if you ever have something that you see that is some way you would love for us to be partnering in the community, let missions know, because they're always looking for new ways to support people in our Columbine and Denver community. So that's all for that.
Good. And Jill, before you go anywhere too fast, one of the things I just want to have us both chat about is the small group work. The small group under Jill has done such a great job. I lead a small group. Jill leads a small group. There are several other people who led a small group. We've been using the book, We Make the Road by Walking, this book that we've been using throughout the year. I really want you to get on board with this book and start following us chapter by chapter. Jill, share just a couple of your thoughts about the small groups and the work that they've been doing.
Yeah, all of you in small groups, I'm going to bug you one of these days to share quotes or reflections on small groups. But small groups are just a great small circle way to connect with people. Our small groups kind of keep growing. Most of them are between 8 and 10 people right now. I think we have about 50 people in small groups. And it's just a chance, I think, to ask questions, to journey together. My group laughs a lot. I think Steve groups learn more, and my group probably laughs more. But
don't tell them that. Don't tell them that. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be a part of your group.
I know. So mine is a really early morning Thursday group. So you got to get up early. But really this idea of journeying together in the big questions, right? And embracing doubt and curiosity, wrestling with the hard stories, like today's story on Lazarus. I mean, oh my gosh, I love wrestling with that with other people. And just, I feel like, in some ways we read over, we read past, or we don't read the Bible. And so how do we kind of wrestle even with this book and the stories in it in a way that we can figure out a mature, knowledgeable, thoughtful, and wise space for scripture in our lives. So I love it.
Good. Thank you. Another really strong point that's been going on is the worship of the church. Our videos that we put together, you turn them on, you watch it for, 45 minutes, you turn it off, you go on with your day. These videos take hours and hours to put together. Everybody who does their own private recording. Tag has taught us all how to be video masters. I've known more about videography. So now when I watch TV shows on Netflix, I'm so mindful now of lighting and transitions. And I know when the editing has screwed up, Tag has done such a good job of educating us, but Joe on the music, Tag on the editing, Samantha, the children's time, Jill and myself with everything that's going on. It literally takes all the staff working together to create these worship videos. And I really think that's been a strength. Our real strength has been our Christmas Eve worship service. That was such a great celebration for Christmas Eve out at Chatfield Farms. We've got a fun service planned for us for Easter at a Clement Park. We'll be doing a full-on Easter service at Clement Park. Pray for sunshine on April 4th. Pray for sunshine on April 4th. We'll be flowering the cross out at Clement Park. We'll have a Saturday afternoon service and 2 services on Sunday morning. So that'll be a great celebration. Our children's ministry has been doing a great job. Samantha is with us. And Samantha, I want you to share with us the great things that are going on in youth and children.
Yes, thank you. So the youth group has continued to meet, whether in a park or on Zoom. We're hoping to get together again soon, safely, socially distanced with masks on. And we've been walking through the same book as a youth group. And we've been asking hard questions, figuring out where those answers might be, or they might just have to always be questions. It's been really wonderful. And in June, our high schoolers are going to Kansas City, Missouri for a mission trip. They're super excited. In July, our middle schoolers will be doing a hometown trip with a little day excursion to the sand dunes. And in the meantime, we're trying to figure out a lot of creative ways to fundraise. And one of the things we're doing this week is selling Valentine's Day baskets to be hand delivered locally. The youth will get together and put them together, and then we'll split up and deliver. So in the chat, I am putting a little plug and a little link for you to be able to purchase a Valentine's basket if you would like. And we also have just the most incredible volunteers helping us each week in the youth group, including Luke, and I know Gary's on the call. We have Jeannie and Dylan, Kramer, and Jackson Simons. It has been an incredible team. And then for our children's ministry, we have had so much happening behind the scenes. Jeannie and I have been in countless conversations about what can we do to bring focus and bring some direction to the children's ministry. So what we're going to do is whenever we can meet again, we're going to be implementing what's called godly play. And in a little bit, I'm going to share a file with you in the chat that gives a more detailed explanation. But really, godly play is rooted in storytelling and response. That children, we're going to do pre-K through 3rd grade, will be able to hear a story and ask questions and wonder and learn and respond to what God might be asking them to respond in that story. We've already started recruiting volunteers and already have some great people lined up. We are so excited about it. Cannot wait to get started. And then for our 4th and 5th graders, Dwight and Luke, Megan Pickett, Ronna Behill are going to be helping lead us in an experiential classroom. So our 4th and 5th graders will get a project about a Bible story or something about their faith. And they're going to enter into that project, whether it's creating a drama, figuring out the science behind a miracle or something like that, or just exploring a new way to tell a parable. They will be able to dive deeper into these stories and make them meaningful for their own lives. We cannot wait. I mean, I am just chomping at the bit to get this started. Our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders are also going to help us get started on planning a Maundy Thursday service. They're going to help us research how we can get food and instructions out to all of our families, to all of you to participate in that together for Holy Week. And then we're also keeping our fingers crossed and hoping and praying that we will be able to do VBS this year from June 1st through 4th, doing 2021 Olympics, because those are happening too. So we have a lot going on, all safely, all distance on Zoom, but a lot. It's so fun. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Samantha. You know, it's really fun is, can you imagine starting to do youth ministry on Zoom, children's ministry on Zoom, and figure out how to do that job? It's amazing to me. Samantha just bought a new house. Samantha Luke just bought a new house right next door to the church. And it's in Columbine Lakes, correct?
Ponds.
Yes, ponds, the ponds.
Columbine Ponds, 3 ponds, yeah. So we're very excited and congratulate you on your new home. Just got a new kitchen put in. So that's cool. We've been following the whole saga of moving into your house. That's been a lot of fun. Jill?
Hey, if you guys have questions about just programs, want to connect with Samantha, Steve, me, go ahead and type those in, right? Because we can be reading those as we go along. We can also follow up with them after the conversation.
Okay, so type those in. You know, another strong point is the care and nurture that's been going on, even though we've been separated by Zoom and we can't see each other face to face. There's been a lot of care and nurture that's going on. The Care and Nurture Committee has been working throughout this entire pandemic, praying for people, setting up prayer chains, taking care of people. We've had a network of phone calls that are going out, trying to keep people connected with one another. Jill and I, the only thing that Jill and I are not doing is hospital visitation, because what hospitals have been doing, you get 1 visit a day, and then if we go into a hospital to visit for the day, and Jill and I are going visits until we're all vaccinated and until hospitals allow us to visit. So that's kind of the only thing we're not doing, Jill and I are doing. Am I having trouble coming across, Jill?
Yeah.
Okay, my internet just said I'm unstable. Am I still
Don't we
coming?
know it?
I'm unstable. Okay, so we're gonna keep on moving on. Let's go to the building updates. Janet, Jill, and Jack have a thing with us about building updates. And then we're gonna do the budget and then funding our vision. So we're gonna do our building update, our budget, and fundraising. So building updates, Janet McAleese and Jill.
And Jack Dunn. Hey, thanks for the time this morning. And I want to ask Jill. Jill, do you have slides up, or do you want me to share slides?
No, I do. I'm going to take Steve out and I'm going to share my screen.
Great.
Janet, just say next when you're ready for the next one. Sorry that I have control over it for you.
No, that's great. And just clarification, as we go, I imagine there will be a plethora of questions. In the chat, our direct message options are, we have a Columbine United host and a Columbine United co-host. Jill, which one are you? Do you know? Host. So if you have questions, we have a lot of material to pack in that we wanted to share. So there's a lot going on with the building project. You can direct message questions to Jill and she can moderate them. You can also put them in chat if you want them to kind of go to an open forum. We'll get to as many questions as we can this afternoon, coming up on this afternoon. And certainly if there are a lot of questions, we can compile a set of responses and get them back to you. So just some context here, because it's the building project is our marathon project and it's been going for a while. So I want to give you some context as to where we are. If you remember back now, November, December 2019, which feels like a long time ago. We started our capital campaign, lots of planning and design, getting down to a good scope for our project. We had congregational approval in March. In May, we spent most of the month of May moving out, just sorting through everything. Everything got moved out of the church, thanks to all the volunteers that pitched into that. July, we got final contract for construction signed. July through October, we went through pretty extensive permitting, surveys, plans. I'll talk more about this and invite Jack to add some color commentary as we go through there. Finally started demolition in October, and that sent us off to the races. So demolition's been going through the last couple of months. In January, now, once everything was opened up and we got a chance to see everything that was really there, have lots and lots of learning over the last, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks, and have made a lot of decisions going forward. So I'll share some detail about that. And we do expect, which is kind of the big question, is when do we expect to be done? We are anticipating mid to late summer, and we'll definitely continue to update everybody as that one gets closer. So next slide. And if you just recall what's funded and what's in our phase 2 unfunded, you see the list of interior and external improvements coming. There's actually no reason the swamp cooler with AC is bigger than the rest of the other items. I know we're really excited about AC, and we have some detail to talk about this as well. And so I want to share a couple pictures if you want to move forward and pause for just a second. I know many of you on the call today got a chance to come out for a tour yesterday of the building. And I wanted to pause and see if anyone on the line wanted to unmute and just share their thoughts about what they saw. So I'm going to put myself in gallery view. Certainly you can raise your hand in chat or raise your hand visually. And I'm going to scroll through and see. Anyone interested in sharing your thoughts? There's the basement there. I'll pick on Samantha and Luke. I know you guys brought the whole youth group in, which was so fun to take our middle schools and high schoolers through. And they were just buzzing. What was the conversation there within the group?
They were just so excited. They cannot wait to have a space of their own and they were all wondering, where will our hiding places be now when we play games? And it was just so fun, and they loved being able to put their mark on the sanctuary floor. And I felt like that they were all able to take some ownership of the space and say, this is ours. This is going to be so cool. We're so happy we got to go look through.
Thank you. And I'll pick up on a few other folks. Jim and Sandy Sexton, I think you guys were there in the morning. Can I pick on you and see what you thought about going through the building?
Well, it was really great to go through the building and see how much has been done. And it's a little daunting to think how much remains to be done. But the best part will be the chance to get back together again in the May-June timeframe.
Thank you. Yeah, and how about one more tour, set of families that went on tours yesterday? Anyone else want to share impressions, insights?
Hey, Janet, this is Russ Young.
Russ.
Yeah, I was there. It was good to see Jim and Sandy Sexton and Janet Kester and Tag and Jill. You did a phenomenal job, and Jack Dunn with the tour. It's great from almost a perspective of just seeing where your money's going. I mean, and the progress being done. So thank you all. I echo Jim. Yeah, a lot has been done. There's a lot still that needs to be done, but it was great to see it. So progress is being made, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thanks for sharing. And so Jill, if you can go back to photos, there's a couple things I want to point out, and then we'll kind of go into specifics.
Go back all the way back
a little bit. So first photo. So you can see there on the right hand side, that's the ceiling of Beal Hall. That's all pulled down, and you can see the black tubes there are flexible venting that we're replacing with the venting AC vents over on the left. You can kind of see the steel going around there. So that's a big part of the project we'll talk about in a minute. You see a couple of the buildings coming down there on the left in front of the church. Those big circular ugly air vents are gone, so yay for that. So if you drive by in Platte Canyon, you'll see a lot going on even just in the front of the church. Next set of photos, and this is kind of an older photo. That welcome spot desk actually isn't there anymore. There's the elevator shaft, and so there's a lot in preparation for the elevator coming, which is exciting. If you want to move forward, there is the sanctuary. I know Steve is thrilled that the popcorn ceiling is gone. We have this beautiful smooth ceiling. We'll have cross trusses coming across the top. You'll see the stage is taken on a different shape there in the front. And the right side there, you can see a couple of the messages that folks added on the floor. So those who got the chance to come through yesterday, and I saw a lot of names and hearts where you normally sit in the congregation on the floor, which was really fun to see. Thank you for doing that. And that will be our new flooring.
The rainbow was mine, and the one rule I had to tell everyone was don't mark on the red lines, and then my rainbow was on the red line by accident.
I didn't hear that. La la la. So and then there are a couple, you can see some over kind of on the left across the walkway over the windows. You see some rectangles cut out of the ceiling. There's a lot of ducting work going for new air conditioning. And the new lighting is coming for our sanctuary and Narthex and Beal Hall. So lots and lots of work coming. Last photo I think I have in here is there's the basement. On the left, you can see a lot of the walls in the center are now gone. The kitchen down there has been gutted in preparation for a new kitchen, which is so exciting and will make that space really so usable. And the bathrooms down there have been gutted as well. Thanks to Jill, and I want to pause too. Jill and Tag have been amazing partners and support in this. We have a slew of volunteers along with our billing steering committee, which is Rich Boren, myself, and Terry. There are so many leaders that are stepping in to work closely with us day to day. We're working closely with council, and I want to take a moment to specifically honor Jack Dunn. And Jack and I matched today, which I love. I think I just want to grow up. I want to be like Jack when I grow up. Jill's one of the most humble people I know, and one of the most hardworking, knowledgeable, roll up your sleeves. He is our boots on the ground at the building at least once, if not multiple times per week, working hand in hand with our construction crew. He brings ideas, decisions, considerations back to our committee that we meet each week. And Jack, you're just such a gift to our congregation in all that you do. This project would not go as smoothly and as comprehensively as it's going without you. So thank you for big appreciations for Jack. So let's talk about specifically, you saw a lot of activity that's going on there, big accomplishments. Like I mentioned, total demolition. If you were there yesterday, you saw soup to nuts. The patient is on the operating table and completely open. It's been pretty gutted. All the asbestos, there was glue in the asbestos tiles in the basement that had asbestos. That's all been removed. Walls, basement, even all the way down to fireside has been updated, office reception. So lots and lots of demo work there. Elevators ready to go. We got a design done for the audio visual for the sanctuary, which will be a big upgrade in the experience of our worship service on Sundays. And if you know and remember, this renovation is not just for us, but to pull in the next generations of members to CUC. And so the presentation and how we run service is so important. And our philosophy has continued to be, how do we move this forward pragmatically and lean, but also honor, everyone's desire to really improve and modernize how we do church. So that's been really important. A couple of big things right there at the bottom. Big part of this project and a lot of the learning that we've had over the last, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks, has been really centered in the updating 50 years of code changes and infrastructure, and updating the fire protection. And one of our mantras in here, knowing that so many of our members of our congregation family have added their expertise and decisions and momentum to the building in bits and pieces over the many years that we've had, our working assumption always is that everyone has done their best to make the best decisions with what they knew at the time that things were happening. And so as we're learning, we're just kind of seeing, what we're working with, knowing there were decisions behind it. And here nor there are things that we've learned along the way that we've had to incorporate into our decision making. So in those last 2 items, I want to set a little bit of context in some of the learning, and Jill, you can go to the next slide. So imagine, if you will, and I know many of you have had this experience where if you're going in for a surgical procedure and our building is our patient, so our building's going in for a facelift, we're going in for a lung transplant with our AC, we're doing a hip replacement, and we've got a couple broken femurs we're getting fixed, and we go to the director of the hospital and we say, okay, we're ready, our patient's ready for surgery. And the medical director says, great, show me your x-rays and all your blood work and your test results and all your paperwork so we know what we're doing. And we go, be right back. We'll go check and get our plans and permits and surveys. We went to the county. I even found the same engineer who's been working with us on past projects. He's like, oh yeah, I remember you, and you guys did all these projects. And we said, yeah, where's our surveys? And they're like, I don't know. The county doesn't have them. So we're going into surgery. We got all of our permit, surveys, paperwork, prep work, and we're finally ready to start. We open up our patient and start working, and the lung specialist comes in to help our airways, and the lung specialist says, hey, you have bendy straws for your airways. You need better air pipes for your new lungs. And we said, okay, great, we'll do that. And the kidney specialist comes in and says, where are your kidneys? And we're like, oh, well, our working assumptions were we had a full set of organs coming in here and we don't. Okay, so we'll add kidneys. How many do we need? And the specialist says, you need 17 kidneys before you can open everything back up. And when you close everything back up after your kidneys, you need an extra layer of skin there. So, so a lot of the working assumptions where I'm going with this is, of all the things that we could see and all the things that we knew, our committee, our construction team and foreman, all of their subcontractors, we walked that building multiple times with them, made working assumptions about what was there. The biggest surprises we've had are ones that we assumed were good working assumptions that didn't turn out to be quite what we expected. So, and this is the reason we put contingency in the project, right? We knew going into this that we were going to run into things like that. We didn't anticipate these types of items, and this is just a, kind of the bigger list that we've run into. Certainly adding 17 kidneys that are what are smoke dampers, and certainly Jack can weigh in on, what smoke dampers do. But when our fire chief came through and said, hey, where's your smoke protection? And that actually should have gone in the 1997 project. And we're like, I don't know. We thought we expected them to be there too. So that's to the tune of a lot of money and $82,000. The upgrading the ducting work that you saw, the flexible ducting in Beal Hall, we had to switch out to more rigid ducting for our AC, lots of code, other replacement and engineering changes that we need to put into tune. That bullet point number 4, their 47,000 is actually probably 6 or 7 items bundled into that. Roof repairs, if you've been in the church anywhere over the last 5 years after it's rained, you probably have to walk around about 20 buckets. And we thought in anticipating roof fixes, a lot of the evaporative cooling equipment is on that flat part of the roof. And so we anticipated, and our construction crew anticipated, that we could do some patching when we moved that equipment. Once we got everything opened up and our specialists got up there, they said, yeah, you actually need more extensive repairs here. So so these were bigger surprises than we expected, and it's put us over our contingency. And before I go there, Jack, any additions, anything I missed here, any comments that you want to add, and just our learnings and how things have gone?
No, I think that's good. Anybody need to know more about smoke dampers, we can talk about it, but they just go in the ductwork and they're like shutters that cut off. If there's a fire alarm, it shuts down the dampers, and so they won't transfer smoke around through the rest of the building. Mm-hmm. So they just have to be installed inside the ductwork, the steel ductwork that goes up. And it's just one of those things we didn't know about. We started ripping everything apart. Somebody said, like Janet said, where's the kidneys? Well, okay, that's what we're missing. Just a quick comment on the project itself. I think it's going quite well, even though you may say it's taking forever. I suspect those people who were touring yesterday, their first impression when they walked in was, holy cow, what a mess. And the next thing was, what do all these wires do? Because they're everywhere. And the third thing was I didn't realize this was so much work and so many things going on. So we have a lot going on simultaneously. There's not a lot of construction people in the church right now. They're playing with COVID as well. So they keep their crews minimum. Everybody's in masks and hard hats and colorful vests and staying their distances. So I'm really impressed with how the contractors are doing it. I meet with the construction manager, Manny, regularly. He's on site all the time. Every other week we have a meeting between the architect and the president of Miller and his staff, and go through the major issues and what's up, what do we have to pay for, what's changed, what's coming next, what's the schedule. We do walkthroughs, all of us. We've done 2 or 3 walkthroughs because we can't figure out from the drawings what the heck we really got here. Mm-hmm. And how we're going to solve that problem. How come there wasn't a certain header going across the top of someplace? And so we got to sit there and look at it and say, well, this is the way we got to fix it. So I basically am the coordinator between everybody. And if it's a small decision, I go ahead and make it, pay the bill, sign off on the bill. And if it's a big deal, I sort of take it back to the steering committee and say, what do you think? Because we got to keep going in the steering committee, and they work every week. We're working on something. They'll say, well, here's what we got to do. And so we'll just, I'm signing off on 100,000 worth of stuff right now. And I'm going to sign off on some more stuff this coming week. And until somebody tells me to stop, that's where we're going.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job, Jack, of bringing back also, and these things that we have to make hard decisions on. And these are things we can't not do. Jack's doing a great job of also, as we go, finding items too where we can get more lean, nickels out to dollars. And so where we can get, where we can adjust so that we're not doing as an extensive a remodel, but still get a really nice impact and high quality work. To try to mitigate the impact of things like this that we're finding has been great. So if you want to move to the next slide, where does this put us? So we did have $100,000 contingency built into our expenses. You saw some of the overages we learned in the past slide took us over the 100,000. So we're 120,000 over the contingency. However, we're at a point in the project where our general contractor, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, and our architect don't expect any more big ahas. We really should be really even keel from here. So I want to ask Dwight or Amy, we took the budget overage to council this last week. No, it's great. To talk about this. Amy, do you want to?
Yep, sure. So it was just this last week that we met with Janet and Jack, and really we got the same presentation you did, and a very thorough presentation of this is what it is. And we had a nice long conversation about it, but really what it came down to was any of us who have ever done any type of home project, what you think is going to be the situation oftentimes, more often than not, does not turn out to be the situation. Like she said, oh, your plumbing is from 1985. We also needed to redo the plumbing, not just replace the bathtub. And so you really think about this as the same type of thing, and really unknown until the walls were opened up and they were starting to look for permits and things like that. And so when you're thinking of the grand total of the project itself, the 120,000, we just really felt like at this point was a decision we had to make, because we want to continue with all of the projects that we've already put into place. And as you can see, if you went to the church yesterday, we're pretty torn up. We've got to move forward. And so we approved that we would have additional funds, and depending on how the next year or so pans out with donations and so forth, that may or may not be added to the mortgage, but we're just thinking that that was the best decision moving forward as a council.
Dwight, anything to add here? I know we've got fiscal update coming after this, so we can talk about that as well if we want to address it there.
And on the building itself, I think those numbers are reasonably accurate. Right, as I look at the numbers right now, there may be some creep, there may not be some creep. There are some timing issues that we need to sort out. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if it went a little higher, just because they never go lower. But I think that's in the ballpark. If that ends up in the mortgage, I think we can service it. We won't have to deal with it for a couple of years, at which point it will show up in the operating budget. I'm not thrilled with it, but I think by that time we'll be able to cover it. I'm anxious to get back in the building and start being able to pay our bills in a much more normal manner. I'll talk more when we get to the budget.
That sounds great, Dwight. And I think it's worthy of noting too, up until now, we haven't tapped into the construction loan because we've been able to operate on pledges that we've received to date. So thank you everybody for continued support there and getting pledges in. That makes a huge difference in how we're able to move those forward. So I want to tie up our update here with the next slide here. What's coming up next in the project? Big, exciting things. We're done with demo and now we're starting to build back in. So the truss work is going to start in the sanctuary with the big beams going across. remember, we've got a garage door coming in Beal Hall that we'll be able to open up in the summer and let our picnic and congregational activity kind of head out into the deck and the back area. So that's coming. Evaporative cooler stuff is coming off of the narthex roof, so the roof repairs can start after that. Drywall will start to go back up. If you were in the tour yesterday, you saw all the walls are framed out. Now they can start adding things back up and frame out the walls with drywall. And we're expecting any day our warming kitchen permits. If you saw, there was not much has started in the kitchen because we're waiting for that warming kitchen permit to come in, and then we'll be able to really start in earnest in the kitchen. So really exciting stuff, and we look forward to giving you future updates in our next conversation.
Janet, I have not seen any questions come in through chat, but if anybody has any questions, you can either chat them or feel free to raise your hand. Janet, do you want me to stop sharing screen?
Yeah, you can stop sharing screen, and certainly, if you're after our conversation, it always happens when you hang up and you go, oh, I should have asked this thing. Feel free to send in questions through me, through Jill to me, goes into Jack. There's several avenues to get to us to ask questions. So always happy to share where we can. We're trying to be as transparent and timely as we can. So thank you for the opportunity to update everybody this morning.
Jill, you want to take just a minute and see if anybody has questions? Once you raise your hand, if you have a question, put it in the chat. Since Janet and Jack are here, let's just take a second. I'm going to switch over to gallery view myself. Morgan McKenzie is asking, how often will you do walkthroughs? Yesterday. Janet?
Yeah, I think, Jack, we had talked about doing them periodically. I think we'll look at our schedule and see, when the next meaningful stage is, because we want to make sure you see new things each time you walk through. So we'll go back and work with our construction team and see if we can match that up with the construction schedule. Maybe another month or two out, Jack?
Yeah, I think we have to make sure people, if they go through, it's safe enough to go through. So keep it cleaned up pretty well, but sometimes you just don't want people in the building. And that's just what it is. It won't be during the week. I can tell you that. If you got contractors in there, they just don't want us around. And I understand. So if we can schedule something, I think it would be fun to do again, just to see progress. It was lucky we had all the steel work up. They just put that up last week for all the framing. And so that gave everybody a sense of, okay, there's going to be a new office here. Huh? That's interesting. And we had some display boards, which we could show to people almost at any time to show the color schemes and the types of materials that are going down the flooring and stuff like that, and pictures of lights and things. So we could do that somehow, maybe just online or something. I don't know. And but it's going to get real torn up. If you thought it was bad now, it's going to get worse, because we'll put stuff together, but we're going to have cranes in lifting stuff out of the top of the roof someday. And right now, when we work on Beal Hall, put that garage door in, it's going to, like, almost all of the west side of Beal Hall's wall is going to disappear. And the question is, how do we hold up the roof of Beal Hall? So we'll figure that out. But there's a lot of stuff like that's going to happen, and you just can't have people in the building very easily. We just have to really plan for it. But they're really cooperative. I said to Manny on Friday, who's a site guy, let's get it cleaned up, make sure it's neat, more than what you got. You did a good job. So we're, it's a great group to work with.
Yeah. I had one question just from Russ Young about, is Fireside in this phase or next phase?
It's in this
Fireside's in this phase. We're discussing a little bit about how to handle the fireplace and the hearth and all that kind of stuff. It's part of the contract. We're rethinking what we ought to do about that. And the steering committee will work on that probably next week. For instance, I just found out this past week that we had designed in putting some tile over the brickwork on the hearth and doing a number of other things. Well, installing the tile stuff was like a $2,500 cost. So the question is, do we want to do that? And so we'll figure it out. But that's an issue that we want to talk about.
But Fireside does have new insulation, carpet, paint.
New
all
drop
that.
ceiling, lighting. The whole building is going to LED lighting, which will save money and maintenance and operating costs. So everything gets new lighting. That'll be an impressive piece.
Yeah, I even saw a thumbs up just now from Dwight, so that's exciting too. A little bit for everybody. That's great. And so final props. Thank you, Lindsay and George and the design committee. You guys have done a great job with finishes. That's, you know, the modern look's going to be really exciting. And also Charlie Swanson has been kind of doing photo historian work for us and helping capture pictures as we go. So one thing I'm looking forward to when we get back in our building is having, you know, a good photo spread, and we'll work through that as we get there, just to see so you all can see the evolution of all the work that's been going on. So
All right, very good. Thank you for the building update. That's wonderful. Again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to email Janet, Jill, or myself, and we'll forward them on to the committee. The building committee meets weekly as needed, but usually on a weekly basis. So we're trying to keep abreast of everything that's going on. All right, let's keep on going. We need to talk about our budget. I know that you're all dying to talk about our budget. And so let's move on to that. I have both Lindsay, the treasurer, and Dwight, the financial guru, are going to talk about our budget. So I'm going to turn that over to the two of you.
Okay. Let me go ahead and start, Lindsay, and you chime in and correct me wherever you feel appropriate. I've got two areas to discuss quickly, and I'm going to try to do this quickly. One is where we are year to date on our current fiscal year budget, and then very briefly where we're going with next year's budget, which is not done yet. I don't have slides. I finished the January report just yesterday afternoon, and I was out of attention span to make slides. So I'm going to read it to you. Any of you who want the full monthly report, which is tons of numbers, if you want to deal with that level of detail, email me and I will be happy to send you the full report. You have a right to it. Don't tell me your email address is here because I'll lose it. Okay, overall, the bad news on the budget is that our actual giving is down about $70,000 so far from what we anticipated. That's not really a surprise, everything considered, but there's some exceptional income that more than makes up for it. We're about $40,000 up over budget on investment income. That's the stuff we have at Schwab, which is just spectacular. And the finance committee headed by Ruth Ann is looking every month to make sure we lock that in when appropriate. We sold some stuff just last month to lock in some of that income. And we have payroll protection program money on the order of $61,767 in windfall revenue. You put both of those together, and we're actually ahead on revenue by some $26,000 right now. And I expect to finish the year with a nice surplus based on those one-time gifts, which we'll be carrying forward, I expect, to next year's budget. There's nothing spectacular in expenses to talk about. We're underrunning a bit because we don't have the normal building expenses. We're overrunning a bit on the cost of putting on worship services because of the cost of Christmas and Easter services, but there's nothing there that's really out of hand. So at this point, all things considered, we're about $45,000 ahead of where we planned to be 3/4 of the way through the fiscal year, largely because of those one-time things. I'll take it. I need it for next year. Anything to add to that, Lindsay?
No, you did a great job. Thank you, Dwight.
Okay. In terms of next year's budget, which is still working its way through all the committees, I sent out an update yesterday on where we are. Right now, I think we're very close to converging the revenue versus budget based on recent pledges, based on what we'll be able to carry over from this year if the trends continue, and unfortunately, by cutting out any raises we might have given. Sorry about that, Steve. But what I'm floating out there is that if giving is strong over the summer and fall, we'll go back and look at the raises and maybe there will be some additional remuneration. I can't promise that yet, but at this point, I'm within $5,000 of closing the budget based on doing those three things. and still funding some program increases for next year so that we'll have an exciting time when we get back in, particularly increases in music and in the children and youth programs. I can go on in detail on that for days if you let me, but I don't think Steve is going to let me.
We're just not there yet. This is a informational meeting that it's just like, it's not even wet cement. We're putting all the pieces together, and that at our congregational meeting, our annual meeting, we will provide the budget in clarity and what we do. That's usually mid-May. That the weeks before that, we send the budget out so you have a chance to review it. But the process is that Dwight and Lindsay start putting Lindsay and the finance committee start putting the budget together. At this point, it goes back and forth to the church council. The council looks at it, kicks it back to Dwight. It goes back and forth before you actually send it out to you. So it's kind of early to get into the weeds on the budget. It was just basically an update. Any
But Steve,
questions?
getting into the weeds is what I do.
I know. You get into the weeds. I know.
They're
Anybody
really
have
nice
any
weeds.
questions for Dwight or Lindsay right now? I'm just going to go to gallery view. Jill, help me scan to see if anybody raise your hand if you've got a question. Jim, do you have a question? Jim Sexton, did you raise your hand?
You'll have to unmute.
Jim, I saw you move. I didn't know if it was your adjusting the volume of what. Do you have a question, Jim?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Okay. And yet, then let's move on. Then, the last thing I want to talk about is, let me pull up my own notes here, is funding our vision for 2021. This is going to take all of us. We have this great challenge in front of us. We have an exciting congregation. We have dynamic ministries that are happening. Even though we've been in the pandemic and we've been separated from one another, the work of Columbine United Church continues to go on. And it happens because of you. It happens because of your funding, because of your generosity, because of your giving. And we want to encourage you to continue to do that, to keep up with your pledges, to keep up with the building fund, your building pledges. Together we're going to fund the church for this coming year. We have great programs in store. And you're going to make that happen. We're all looking forward to when we're back. The great thing is that hopefully there's going to be this blending of the two. The COVID virus will be coming to a place where we'll be able to meet about the same time that the building will be finished. So that's all good news. I'm going to ask Jill. Jill, do you have anything else to add at this point?
No, thanks for hanging out with us for 2 hours. This is the most we've had face-to-face for a year. So thank you for being with us.
Well, we were hoping to get this done in 1 hour, and I'm looking at my clock, and we did it in 1 hour and 2 minutes. So that's very cool. Jill, if there's no other comments, questions? Jill, why don't you close us with prayer?
Okay. And then we're happy to stay on too if those of you who are shy want to stay for a question when everyone else is off. We'll stay on for a couple minutes. But yes, God, we thank you that you are with us. You speak to us in our places. You unite us wherever we are, even when we feel discouraged or disconnected, because this is a long and different season. But we know that you are leading us and that you go ahead of us, that you are the God of the future. You're already there, and you are leading us in a path where we will be back together again, and we will be building relationships and growing together again. So we thank you for all of those people who are here today. We think of those who are not able to join us. And we are especially thankful for leadership in this time. Leading is sometimes invisible and unseen, and yet we see things happening around us. And so we are thankful for small group leaders, for committee leaders, for building steering team leaders. We come together with grateful hearts. In your name we pray. Amen.